All right, let's get after it here tonight. Really looking forward to getting going here tonight on the heels of the Killer Bees. Joel and Jeremy, hope all you mothers out there had a great weekend celebrating your day. Remember, we can't do it without you. Soccer Matters, as always, presented by John Daspit and the Daspit Law Firm. Now, the call-in number, as always, is 713-780-3776. That's 713-780-ESPN. We got a boatload of tickets to give away here tonight, including Copa America, including Leo Messi, Inter Miami versus Tigres, including Houston Dash, and including Houston Dynamo. Of course, the Dynamo will take on FC Dallas on Saturday here at Shell Energy Stadium. On Friday night, the Dash, after winning on the road again at Angel City. I love that. Sticking it to We Are Angel City. Enough of Angel City. Way to go, Dash. Late goal. Paige Nielsen, who used to be on We Are Angel City, to further confuse you. So that was a big road win. Both their wins have been on the road. They get Portland, who was in a goal fest in their past game this weekend. So we'll talk a little bit about that tonight here. There's a lot of winners this weekend. There's a lot of losers in world football. We got that rare double, Dynamo and Dash, on the road. We're going to do a deep dive on matches tonight, pros and cons, bringing you perspective and balance, analysis, data, opinion. It's all here, even a little bit of entertainment. Streaming at ESPN975.com. Jesse Marsh has been named the new manager of Canada. He knows a bit about U.S. players, and now, he knows a bit about the U.S. national team. I like this. Or do I? I think he wants to get one over on Greg Berhalter, number one. Number two, is Jesse a traitor, Guillermo? He's a traitor. He's going to coach the Canucks. Come on.
I would definitely say so.
Yeah. I don't know. You know what? You know what that also signifies? The advancement of the American soccer coach. Because Jesse Marsh did take chances. Red Bull Salzburg, Red Bull Leipzig, right? Leeds. You do have to give him credit. He pioneered. Bob Bradley did some of that before him. But I don't know. I'm not sure Jesse's allowed back in New Jersey ever again. 713-780-3776. When did you fall in love with soccer? When? And what was it that got you to fall in love with soccer? 713-780-3776. Could be a team, could be a player, could be a moment, could be the first time you kicked the ball. What is yours, Guillermo?
I got to say 2010 World Cup. Before that, I used to watch it with my family and stuff like that, but it wasn't until that World Cup that I knew that this was going to be it.
So, that's one of the main responses I've got on social media, at Twitter, at Glenn Davis Sock, at Soccer Matters GD. Same thing on Instagram. So Lucas said, Spain's incredible golden age, hustle town, and the silky smooth style of one Josep Guardiola. How about that? Here's one, along the lines of yours. A lot of people mentioned the World Cup. So when we put that in the context of the fact that we have the World Cup in 2026, these types, you can only imagine the amount of people that are going to be saying something like this. Their opening to the game is going to be the World Cup in 2026. And very much so from a local standpoint, it will be here as long as people can get to the games. From the standpoint of getting tickets. But you're going to get more and more of this because the World Cup, I think, is the big it's the detonator of the love of the game. It's the detonator. Here's Wrexham Texan. For me, the same tournament, stuck overseas in Russia for work. 98 World Cup was on every screen, every bar. I had to learn all about the sport from all the other folks around me. Brian says, the first U.S. men's national team I attended with my grandpa at Featherstone Field in Torrance. We beat Canada 2-0 with goals from Bruce Murray and Dante Washington. I played against Bruce Murray. Man, that's a long time ago. Vicente says, apart from the incredible Barcelona team under Pep's mastermind, the unbelievable Venezuelan run in 2011 Copa America, where they reached the semifinals, that was our best result in history. I never forget how the entire country felt the tournament. What else we got? We got a few more. mid 80s. No, in the mid 90s, Southeast Oklahoma. This is from Bar Down Bully. I didn't know what soccer was. We didn't have cable. It wasn't on TV. My mom signed me up, and when I was 5, I didn't watch a game on TV until I was in high school. I organically fell in love with the game, then naturally attached to pro teams as a fan. So there's somebody who just literally the playing side of the game is how they fell into it. So I'm sure there's a lot of those out there. All right, let's get to some Liga MX here real quick. Chivas. Victor Guzman scoring versus Toluca ends up being the deciding goal as they advance on aggregate 1-0 over Toluca.
Todos, Cowell mete primera, segunda y tercera. Lo hace bien, rescata. Otro recentro. Golpe se pasa, viva la pelota. ¿Quién le pega? ¡Hay un golazo! ¡Gol!
By the way, Cade Cowell, the American on Chivas, came off the bench in both of those legs, so he's been used as a sub. 90+1, Cruz Azul sealing the victory over Pumas. They would go on aggregate over them 4-2. That was a Mexico City derby. This is Faravelli.
Faravelli, recorta bien Faravelli, apoyando en Gutiérrez, después de pegar a Alexis, la deja ahí para Cándido, servicio. ¡Gol! De la máquina, Lolo.
Jordi Cortizo sealing it for Rayados in the big Rayados Tigres matchup. This has made my producer very, very happy. It's been a good week for him. 59th minute, they would advance on aggregate 3-2 over Tigres.
¿Qué sombrerito le hizo? Ahora Jordi le pega. No. Vamos a ver a Canales. Este le va a pegar. ¡Canales! ¡Palo, Jordi! ¡Gol!
And we won't play this audio, but Julian Quinones scored 90+4 for Club America. They get past Pachuca. America goes through to their position in this table. It's another one of those real weird Mexican League rules, but they finished higher, so they advance, even though it was 2-2 on aggregate. So Julian Quinones. So you got Club America Chivas, and then you've got Rayados. And who we got? Rayados and
Cruz Azul.
And Azul. Man, my friend loves Cruz Azul, Rodrigo de Luna. All right, so who are you picking in these two?
I got to go for Rayados, between the Rayados Cruz Azul. Non-biased. I just think throughout the entire season and these playoffs and these last matches, we've been a really good defensive team. I think we will pull it over Cruz Azul. And then on the other side, America is just more dangerous than Chivas in these kinds of situations. Chivas struggled against Toluca, ended up winning 1-0 from the first leg. So I'm taking America.
Okay. You're on record, Guillermo. All right, so we are going to get to the Dynamo and Sporting Kansas City tonight. I got a lot of pros and cons on this, and I think I have some different takes. I am noticing that, we win one game and now everything's great again. It's the up and down nature a lot of times of fans. I do want your takes on it tonight, 713-780-3776. So it was all gloom and doom after the defending Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup champions got knocked out of the Open Cup. Maybe it was a couple hundred people down at Shell Energy. That was really disappointing to me as a defending champions, but that's a whole nother issue. So there's a comedian, John Glazer, who I know absolutely nothing about. I don't know who this guy is. He ends up on Jimmy Fallon, so he's got to be somebody that's followed a lot in comedy. The only guy I follow is Sebastian Maniscalco. I cover a couple. There's a couple others, I guess. So Glazer goes on Jimmy Fallon, and he's got all this Detroit City gear on, including his socks, and he basically sticks it to Houston. Here's what he does.
I grew up in the suburbs of Detroit. This is Detroit City FC. It's the local soccer club. They're a league below MLS. And as everyone out here knows, DCFC just had a huge win in the U.S. Open Cup, beating the reigning champs MLS team, Houston Dynamo. So up yours, Houston.
I don't like that guy. I don't like John Glazer, whatever his name is. I was about to call him Joey Gallo. How did I come up with that? John Glazer. So John making a name. You always wonder about these things. Now, maybe he really is a fan, but, you always question whether this is done just for the optics and to grab some other listeners and piss the market off and fire up energy, because there is a lot of baiting going on. But it really sounds like he is a big Detroit City FC fan. And celebrities are definitely hooking and getting attached to a lot of teams. We're going to wait on my non-soccer take for sure, because there's something even more important. But, hey, I guess it's all good. Interesting. I don't like John Glazer, man. Don't be busting on my city DH. I came here in '84. I've denounced my citizenship to New Jersey. I'm a Texan in H-Town through and through now. And I've earned that by being here a long time, being faithful to my city, my community, my soccer community, which I love here. It's the best. It's the best. Okay. Leandro Trossard scoring for Arsenal. They get a very important 1-0 victory over Manchester United.
Havertz. Evans and Trossard arrived at the near post in front of a fretful Stretford end to give Arsenal an oh-so-important lead.
So if Arsenal beat Everton on Sunday and Man City drop points in either of their two final games, and Arsenal maintain a superior goal difference, they could still win it. But the big key is going to be tomorrow, I think, watching Spurs, who obviously is not going to want to see Arsenal win a title in the Premier League. Spurs taking on Man City. So there's going to be a interesting day tomorrow. I don't think any question. Today, 3-3, Liverpool was in action here today with Aston Villa. I'm hoping Villa gets one of the Champions League spots. I think they've had a good year, but that was a bit dicey. And then as we head to break, this is called I've Been Thinking About You by London Beat. I do want to remind you that Christian Pulisic scored a brace for Cagliari. 5-1 victory. So he's had a great season for Milan. Right now, and I mean tonight is a big night for ticket drop. I think I'm going to start big. Let's go Colombia, Paraguay. A pair of tickets to Colombia, Paraguay. We got a great base of Colombian fans. I'm sure we got some Paraguayan fans in Houston. There's no question. Caller number 4 at 713-780-3776. Caller number 4, you get a pair of tickets courtesy of Lone Star Sports and Entertainment for the Colombia-Paraguay Gold Cup match in June.
You're listening to Soccer Matters on ESPN 97.5.
And on ESPN 92.5.
Brought to you by the Daspit Law Firm. From the Veritex Community Bank Studios, here's Glenn Davis.
You know, Glenn does have other opinions outside of the matters of soccer.
Wait, really?
Yes, he does.
Time now for Glenn's non-soccer take.
All right, I'm going to talk about graduation. My producer, Guillermo Lazo Romero, graduated. We're going to talk about that in a minute. So I went up to Dallas, Southern Methodist University. My niece was graduating. Family moment, needed to be there. Drove up. And it was so refreshing to be around not only the excitement and the happiness and the promise of youth, but just happy people. People that were seeing the accomplishment of a family member, the possibility, the growth, the maturity. It's just nice, honestly, to be around a big crowd full of happy people. Parents, grandparents, college graduates, their family. And it was exciting for me to see my niece graduate. Great young woman. But just a wonderful day. And it was a reminder to me when I was driving home just to seek out positive people. Those people that are happy, those people that are reasonable, comfortable in their skin, have something to offer to you. Because I got news for you. I'm done with the baiters. I'm sick of them, whether it's in social media or the media, wherever. And the world is full of them, sadly. So seeking out people that really are in a great positive place, that are happy, reasonable, comfortable, and enjoying life. That's what it's all about. All right, that is that. All right, Guillermo, congratulations on your graduation.
Thank you. Means a lot.
Prideful moment, right?
Yeah, 100%. How you said, like having my family there, just watch me walk across the stage, watch me chase my dreams, watch me complete this degree. It's really a great moment.
Yeah, it really is. And it's something nobody can ever take away from you, the hard work. And I mean, I was waiting for my niece because they're running a lot of people through. But I was enjoying watching other college graduates going through and seeing the reactions from their family. It was really something special. I never got to walk for my graduation. So I left to play pro soccer, so I missed it. You think they'd welcome me back as an older person to walk it?
I don't see why not.
I'm not sure that's a good idea. All right, 713-780-3776. I'm going to hit you up right now. 4-pack of Houston Dash Portland for Friday. 4-pack. 713-780-3776. 4 tickets to the Dash Portland. World-class soccer. World-class soccer players. 713-780-3776. What did I say? Caller number 4?
Yeah, for a 4-pack.
Yep, 4 for a 4-pack right now. And I'm looking at the board. I don't see anybody calling, and I'm going to do this again. I am going to shame you, Houston Dash fan. I am going to shame you unless you start calling in and somebody wins these tickets, because it's embarrassing. We got to get more people down there and fans. And, of course, the Dash have to earn it, but they are coming off a road win. Okay, so now we got a couple of callers calling in. There we go. That's good. Why do I have to shame you? Why can't you just call in? They're free tickets, for crying out loud. All right, 713-780-3776 is the number. 713-780-3776 is the number. All right, Dynamo defeat Sporting Kansas City 2-1. Oh, you know what? Before I get to that, I do want to put this quote out. Think about this for a second. This is from the legendary Brazilian Cafu. Cafu said recently, Brazilians, as in their players, should join La Liga rather than the Premier League. That's Cafu. He said, quote, I am afraid the more we have Brazilians moving to the Premier League, the fewer the chances for Brazil to win the World Cup. And there's been around a while, that thought process, because the creative flair of the Brazilian, to some people, they say, well, you play in Europe, you're going to lose some of that. I don't know how you quantify that. I don't know how you validate that. But I think that's a pretty strong statement from Cafu. No question. By the way, Brazil will be here at Kyle Field on the campus of Texas A&M. What a moment that's going to be. That's in June. I believe that's June 8th, 7th or 8th. Tickets at lsse.net for tickets to that. But you can see the famous canary yellow. There will be no Neymar for that. But there will be Endrick, who's a 17-year-old superstar. He's supposed to be the next superstar. Okay, now we get to the Dynamo. They get a third road win. They defeat Sporting Kansas City 2-1. Hector Herrera started it off in the 31st minute. Now, this was a short corner. Poorly defended by Sporting. That said, this is a remarkable finish from Herrera. Bends it into the far side netting. 61st minute, Daniel Shallowy picked the ball up in what they call, I believe, the green zone or the green area, which is that little pocket of space above the 18. If I'm correct, they're coming up with new terms for different areas of the field. 61st minute, it's Shallowy. And then the 78th minute, Aliu would get the game winner when Griffin Dorsey drove the ball forward and then found Aliu with a good run. And Aliu making a run, that is one that's going to put him in a position to have a lot of goal to look at. And this all happened in transition. So it's a big week. Austin FC on Wednesday, then home Saturday to FC Dallas. I'll give some of those tickets away shortly. Let's get to to the facts here. 7th in the West right now. It's 5-4-2. Now, it's interesting how, based on the result now after the Open Cup, the mood of this club is altered. Yes, winning and losing are mood enhancers or mood killers. This was a needed win, no question. By the way, Steve Clark again on the road. You will not have gotten points in any of these games, Minnesota, Colorado, and this game against Sporting, without Steve Clark. And let's make that very, very clear. He played out of his mind in both Minnesota and Colorado, and he pulls off a huge save on Agata at the end of this game, okay? So, you don't get those results because of goalkeeping. You're in a whole different place right now. So that's the woulda, shoulda, coulda. That happens. You win games where sometimes you don't dominate. The Dynamo were better against Sporting in this. I don't think any question. This was the most controlled win, though, for me out of those three. And again, Steve Clark was brilliant. You don't win in Minnesota or Colorado without Clark. Can you complain as a fan, support, or a spectator after a win? Or should you just be quiet because we won and everything's good? I sometimes look at some of the reaction of the fan base. There's people, oh, we won, be quiet. You can't be critical. You be quiet, shut up, you can't be critical. We took 3 points. I don't know about that. Does that make you a fan or a spectator? No, a fan may want to break it down deeper. A spectator, you may be the one watching the 3-minute highlight and that's all you watch. Maybe you're not invested as deep. I think fans always want things perfect, and we understand there's all different types of fans and or spectators. I think the 3-minute highlight person is dangerous, though. At least when it comes to being realistic about breaking a game down. I don't think they're dangerous if they pay for a seat and buy tickets. That's okay. That's okay. So here are the pros. The Dynamo break a 3-game losing streak and goalless streak. Third multi-goal game. One of them comes off a short corner. Dynamo did look dangerous on the corners. Griffin Dorsey returned to bringing in product with the box-to-box play, although, that run he made and then hit Aliu, no doubt, wonderful energy. But, let's be honest here. Sporting Kansas City, where the blank is your midfield? Seriously. Nobody's going to foul him. Memo Rodriguez kind of let him go. And by the way, that's one of the best games I've ever seen Memo Rodriguez play. Now, here's the thing about Dorsey, and this is what sets him apart. And this is what sets apart great athletes. But this is why Griffin Dorsey is the right back for the Dynamo. It's because with his fitness level being at peak, he can make more of those types of runs. So all credit to him, because by making that run, he tested a team that didn't have the fortitude, the concentration to deal with his persistent driving the ball forward for this team. The volume of runs he makes is enhanced because the man is fit. So guess what? You can get other right backs in MLS. They're not going to make as many of those runs forward, with or without the ball, as Griffin Dorsey, because the man is a fitness machine. So the more of those you get, the better your chances something good is going to happen. Now, we finally saw him bringing in product again. He had a period there where he wasn't bringing in product. I never forget this. I was talking to my brother. My nephew's a great spear fisherman, and he would, it's this free diving, spear fishing, blue water. It's crazy stuff, right? Big fish. You got to get the fish up quick. Sharks come in, bull sharks. It's not for the faint of heart. But he would enter all these tournaments, and he kept winning them. I said to my brother, I'm like, how's this guy win? He goes, look, he's in better shape than everybody else, and he can do more dives. So his volume, the more dives, the more the chances are you're going to nail a big fish and win the tournament. It's pretty simple. More runs, more chances for success. Griffin Dorsey proven that. Better play in the final third, you would have had 4 or 5 goals. Let's be honest. Real chances were missed. Bossi, Kowalczyk. There was hesitancy. I look at some of the missed chances by those two, and again, I'm not blaming them because they're not expected really to be finishers. Let's be fair to them. They're excellent soccer players, but they're not finishers. If there were finishers, a real number 9 in those positions that they had, you would have had more goals. Kowalczyk had a beautiful one set up by Dorsey. Bossi had one. And again, I don't put it on those two, but they do not have a history of finishing. They are a stopgap right now until they figure it out. After the Open Cup, you Dynamo fan, you battered Aliu. Don't batter my guy. He's only 22. He's your leading scorer with 4 goals. He responded. And I don't think he had his best game on this night against Sporting, but he came up with a goal, and that makes it a good night for him. And I was happy for him. But we spoke about his movement, the need to get central, originate runs from differing areas, test defenses, and not hug the left sideline like crazy all the time and cut into 3 or 4 players. He has to move in order to set up the wider stuff, I think. But he got one in transition. This was a fantastic first touch by him, by the way, which made him a favorite to score the goal, and then the razor-sharp finish. I love him. Now, can you imagine him with a legit experienced center forward? I mean, he would thrive even more. That said, the need for the striker, we can bring it up. That's not going away just because there was a win. And by the way, strikers who score goals put people in the seats. And if we want a full stadium, like we always hear people saying, oh, we want to play in front of a full crowd, well, they're not going to come organically. Goals are one way to bring them from the competitive side of things. Hector Herrera, great goal off the short corner, pure class. If you go back and look at that play, I don't know if he had a deal with Alan Pulido, but Alan Pulido was absolutely asleep. Coco, bad giveaway in this game, and then made an unbelievable recovery to block it. And Hector, there was a couple times Hector really lost the ball in bad areas. I mean, that was very uncharacteristic for him. But he got 70-plus minutes, so it's good. If 54% of the possession for the Dynamo, 12 shots, 6 on goal. That's good on the road. 7 crosses. Sporting had 23. Steve Clark had 5 saves. All right, let's get to the audio of the coaches because this is really important. I got to get this in this segment. Let's start off first from let's get Ben Olsen on the post-match victory.
Staff challenged ourselves and we challenged the group to be a better team and do a lot of little things to make sure we were, resembling the team that had so much success last year. And in a lot of ways, this was, I think, our most complete performance. Brave on the ball. The way we built was really thoughtful and smart. When we were out of possession, it was a kind of a renewed commitment from this group and looking after each other, hard work, physical. We made a lot of little plays in the box down the stretch. So, but really, it's our defensive effort that we hung our hat on last year. And, so again, a little bit of a renewed making sure that that's there at the minimum. And then if it's a day where our soccer is good and the goals come, those are the days you can really get your results.
I like that from Ben Olsen, especially from the perspective of the box defending. Sporting really didn't get in the box much, although Agata got in for a header late in the match. Shallowy got turned at the top of the box and scored. Now, what I do want to say is this was not, to me, a very good Sporting Kansas City. And I don't think the coach thought it was either. You still have to beat those teams. Now, let's contrast what Ben Olsen just said with Peter Vermees. Now, this is as real as it gets when it comes to a coach in MLS. Here's Peter Vermees on his team.
And I would say first, the 2 goals we gave up, they're atrocious, in my opinion. And look, I'm the head coach, so I have to take responsibility for it. But the organization is always put together on set pieces. Simple situation for us to give up that goal the way we did. Amateur, at best. The second goal, lack of effort. And it's really easy to see who those people are. Lack of effort to get back there because their player ran by a couple of ours. That's not Sporting Kansas City mentality. It's not. And I have a real problem with that aspect of it, and I'll be dealing with that like very quickly because that's just unacceptable to me. If there's one thing that I can't put up with, and that is the lack of effort on plays. And then the other thing is we have a responsibility to our fans when they come into this place to leave your heart on the field.
Okay, so there's one part from Peter Vermees. Let's move on to more from him, because I think this is great to show the perspective of both coaches here. By the way, you take advantage of a team and their lack of commitment and effort when you have it. And that's what Ben Olsen and the Dynamo had on this night. So here's more from Vermees.
And you can't step into the field and you miss the most important ingredient is effort. If you don't have that, you're not willing to outwork your opponent. Because I know soccer is 11v11, but at the end of the day, especially the players, they're 1v1. There's 10 guys. They're 1v1. They play against the same guy a lot in the game. Yeah, sometimes you play against another guy, sure. But you have an individual duel with the guy that you really see through in the game. We all don't dominate those environments, and you have to. You have to do it physically, you have to do it mentally, and then you have to do it technically and tactically as well. You have to do that, and that's not being done.
The one criticism I would have is, unfortunately, Sporting was not on. The Dynamo coughed the ball up in their third of the field a number of times, and were fortunate not to get punished. Hector a couple times, Coco Carrasquilla I mentioned, but man, I mean, you talk about recovering after making a bad play. He recovered and then blocked the shot, but it's interesting. All right. Shout out to Cactus Music. Get over to Cactus Music. Best in vinyl selection, both new and used CDs, books, everything music, rock and roll. It's like a music history lesson. Cactus Music. Copa America coming up June 22nd, June 24th, July 4th. We got a quarterfinal here. LSSE.net for tickets. And by the way, this summer, if you don't go to these games, you want to watch it in the best of bar atmospheres. Pitch 25, Beer Park. We had Brian Ching on the other day. Got a soccer field in there, over 100 beers. You'll get the full vibe with everybody in, uniforms and the real passion for the game. I do have to mention this real quick. Again, it's Chivas and Club America Wednesday and Saturday, and then Rayados and Cruz Azul, same thing. We'll come back. I'm going to mention a little bit of Bayer Leverkusen. We're going to have, we're going to get a little bit from the Verde up in Austin, with the Dynamo going to Austin to play Austin FC on Wednesday, turning around then with Dallas on the weekend. So let me just say right now, I got a pair of tickets to Houston Dynamo FC Dallas. Caller number 4 right now. Houston Dynamo FC Dallas, 713-780-3776. I'll tell you what, another pair for caller 6. So 4 and 6 right now. You get a pair of tickets. Houston Dynamo, light these phones up. Don't make me shame you out there, Dynamo fan. Light these phones up. Caller 4 and 6, a pair of tickets to the Houston Dynamo. We come back. I got a little Bayer Leverkusen talk and a couple of more interesting comments before we get into learning about Austin FC.
You are listening to Soccer Matters on ESPN 97.5.
And on ESPN 92.5.
Brought to you by the Daspit Law Firm. From the Veritex Community Bank Studios, here's Glenn Davis.
Shallowy Dorsey driving forward. Slides it through for Aliyu! Amazing counterattack with lightning pace and precision. Finished by Aliyu. And Houston have a 2-1 lead.
Good chance this is in. The service bounces all the way through and in! Oh, wow! Paige Nielsen against her former team! You never could have written that. You really couldn't. On the last kick of the game.
You got to love it, a defender winning it, Paige Nielsen, especially coming over from Angels. Enough of Angel City, and we are Angel City. I think we got a bag on them a lot. We got a bag on Angel City. And as far as that comedian, what was his name again? I don't know what his name was.
John Glasser.
Yeah, I'm not going to remember John's name. John, don't be busting on the H, okay? That can come back and bite you in a big way. All right. It's all fun. It's all in fun, and we're having fun. I do have to remind you about Bayer Leverkusen. And people are calling him Bayer never losing. This is unbelievable. I think it's 50 matches now. Final match day, they're going to be home to Augsburg, who's going to try to play the spoiler with the undefeated record. They've already won the Bundesliga. Xabi Alonso's stock has risen like the rising of a phoenix. 64-plus goal differential. 87 goals scored, 23 against, well below conceding one a game. So I just want to remind you, I don't think this is a story that gets talked about a lot. And people don't know the names because it's not Bayern Munich, it's not Dortmund. So here's who's scoring some of the goals for Leverkusen. By the way, a lot of people are scoring goals for them. Victor Boniface, 13, the Nigerian international. Now, every one of these guys is an international player. Florian Wirtz, German national team, he's got 11. Alejandro Grimaldo, Spanish national team, has 10. He's actually an outside back. Patrick Schick, Czech Republic, 7 goals. By the way, he's got 18 for his country. He's a goal scorer. Jonas Hoffmann has 5, German national team. So it is a remarkable story. Leverkusen will play in the Europa League final against Atalanta May 22nd in Dublin, Ireland. And by the way, that's cool stuff because Atalanta is based on a lot of young players that have come through their system, and they are a great story as well. Parma and Como have been promoted to Serie A. Parma's owner is Kyle Krause. He also owns the American USL League 2 team called Des Moines Menace. So that's pretty interesting stuff there. Cesena, you remember we had John Aiello on the show a week ago. What an amazing story he is. They've been promoted to Serie B. All right, Dynamo at Austin on Wednesday. There should be some traveling fans up there. Austin FC got over on the Dynamo in the first match. They are currently 4-4-4. They're in 8th place, 1 place behind the Dynamo, who currently locked down 7th. And great friend of the show, Austin Chronicle. He does the Verde Report. He's Eric Goodman. He joins us now. Eric, how are you?
Doing great, Glenn. Really looking forward to it. Finally got a midweek game. It's a Copa Teos rivalry game. There might be an appearance of Glenn Davis in Austin, Texas, who's to say, but looking forward to that.
Not sure I can get a ticket. I don't know. No. Listen, I think it's exciting. I do like the week. I mean, from the Dynamo perspective, Sporting Kansas City, Austin, and Dallas. I also like it from the standpoint that the Dynamo owe Austin some revenge for their fans. They owe FC Dallas some revenge for the fans. In the short time Austin's existed, do you sense these rivalries are growing a little history with time, Eric?
Yeah, I definitely feel like, at least from what I've seen from the Austin fan base, I do think there's a little bit more vitriol to the FC Dallas rivalry, and I think that might be similar with the Houston fans' perspective as well, which is, ironic because the shortest drive in the state is actually the Austin-Houston drive. So you'd expect there to be a little bit more rivalry, but I just don't think these teams have really been competitive at the same time enough. But that might start. I mean, obviously 7th versus 8th in the West right now, so maybe this is kind of one of those that ignites a little bit more of that rivalry feeling.
One of the storylines ahead of the season, obviously, was Josh Wolf. There was pressure on him. There was some healthy pressure coming from the fans. I don't think there's anything wrong with any of this. Additionally, my question was, what's Austin going to do? Because, after that remarkable season with Sebastian Driussi, the club didn't do a whole lot as far as bringing in some new players. And I kind of think the team got weaker. And to me, that was the time, hey, let's go get a key player. Let's make that one big offseason signing to complement everything else. I don't care what your roster stuff is. That's why you're there, to put a roster together, right? And I kind of feel maybe it's the same thing here with the Dynamo, because everybody was expecting, hey, we need a striker. Where's the striker? We need a goal scorer. Even the guy who turned into the striker left, Corey Baird. Do you get the sense that that's a fair comment that I'm making? And do you feel like they've done better this year with their off-season transactions?
Well, yeah, you're 100% right, Glenn, and I think everybody at Austin FC would admit it. And kind of this all goes back to the fact that at that time, that pivotal offseason coming off the Western Conference Final, the sporting director was Claudio Reyna, and that was obviously the summer of the 2022 World Cup, the winter, where everything was just completely out of whack with Claudio and with his relationship with the club, with his relationship with U.S. Soccer. We all remember that debacle. And it did hurt Austin FC. It cost them. There were deals that we know were not completed, that were on the table, that would have improved the club. And, obviously the club had to then part ways with Reina, and then that shoehorned Josh Wolf into more of a front office role, which is not where he's most comfortable, obviously. So, yeah, I mean, that was a big setback. And now with Rodolfo Borrell in charge coming from Manchester City and Liverpool, there's clearly a plan in place, but that plan's still very much in the early stages. So it's, this is still very much an Austin team in flux, but they've been able to kind of scratch and claw some decent results, including that you mentioned that went on the road at Houston, which was, one where they were definitely, it was against the run of play, but they got the one goal. And that's, right now stands up as their only road win of the season.
By the way, that was the best game of the month for the Dynamo as far as the actual playing of their game, controlling a match. And then, of course, it was a big mistake that cost the game with Fadri cutting across the face of Hector Herrera, who didn't attack a long ball, and he flicked it on. And it led to an unbelievable goal from Rigoni, of all people. But, going back to what Austin FC did after that amazing season, very similar to the Dynamo, amazing season last year. It's a little stunning to me that at that point you don't realize we are close to being MLS Cup winners. Let us do something big. This is the year to try and win it because of the fact that teams are put together in 3-year cycles. Go for it. You got to go get that big player somehow. And the fans aren't going to want to hear, well, we're cap tied or, because at the end of the day, come on, that's really your job, right?
Yeah, and another reality of this Austin club is, first of all, they hit a grand slam with Sebastian Driussi, that the third of 3 designated players that they brought in. He's obviously been phenomenal, had that MVP runner-up campaign. But apart from him, you look at their DP record. It started with Cecilio Dominguez that had a lot of off-the-field issues that resulted in him leaving the club. Then it was Tomas Pochettino, who barely made a dent in his time in Austin. So, they were hamstrung by just completely whiffing on some of those big moves. Rodney Redes was a U22 player.
Yeah.
You've seen a lot of those. Ali Uza, a U22 player that's made a big impact for Houston. But, Austin's gotten very little out of those high leverage spots, and it's hurt them. And in a way, some of what they've accomplished has been impressive given that context. You have found the diamonds in the rough of Brad Stuver. Ethan Finley has been, really great. They wouldn't have necessarily expected. But now with Burrell, I am expecting them to swing big either this summer or the upcoming winter. Once they get Rigoni's contract off the books, he's another complete whiff that they've had. Is apart from that game winner in Houston, has really not impacted the club at all. So yeah, it's almost amazing that Austin's still in that playoff conversation given all of those setbacks. But that's where they are, and Josh Wolf, I think, deserves some credit that he doesn't always get from the fans for overcoming that.
Fair point. And you wrote an article recently, Austin FC proving the critics weren't wrong. At that point, that was a 2-0 win over LA, and they had taken 4 out of 5. Okay, so they're coming into this one losing to Dallas. Here's a quote from Josh Wolf I want to read for the listeners, and I think you know this one. And here's Josh Wolf. He says, "It's 10 games into the season, so we don't get carried away. When you guys are slaughtering us earlier this year, I don't get too bummed out. You got to pump out the headlines, and you got to get readers. I understand it. Whether I agree, that's what you guys choose to do." I found that kind of interesting from a number of perspectives. One, you don't get carried away because of the way the league is run, right? Based on a playoff system and 62% of the people get in. All right? That's not the fans' fault. That's just the reality of the league. So he's not wrong there. But I would say if his stadium was half empty, respectfully, wouldn't he be wishing that the media and journalists were pumping out headlines that might move some tickets and get people to games and be a bit challenging? Because you're living life pretty large with a sellout crowd every single game in Austin. I think it's easy to lose sight of that.
Yeah, you make a lot of good points. I do think Josh does understand. Yeah, I think he is appreciative of the fans, and he goes out of his way to say that as much as he can. He knows the impact they make, and he is grateful for the fact that they've been consistent, one of the most consistent fan bases in the league. But that whole connection of media to fan has just never. It's just not how Josh thinks about the situation. And from my perspective, it seems like a bit of a misunderstanding of the entire relationship. He likes to group media with fans a lot, as if they're one and the same. And, maybe there are a few, especially MLS is one of those leagues where there isn't a ton of coverage from the, most professional, those outlets like ESPN, The Athletic. I mean, there is some, but not on a club-by-club basis. So there are some of those.
Yeah, and
bloggers.
by the way, let me just say one thing about ESPN and The Athletic. There's some irresponsible, not good reporting there, too. Let's not forget that either. But I understand what you're saying.
Right. So, the point is there are some reporters that are in Austin that are in MLS press conferences and press boxes that are fans of the club. So I guess maybe that's where the confusion is in play. But you know me, Glenn, and there's other people on our beat on Austin FC, and I'm sure on the Houston beat that we try to be objective and professional, and it doesn't matter to me how the team does. I obviously I like when they do well. I think it helps. It obviously drives traffic to our coverage. It drives interest in the club. But we're going to ask questions that may not be the talking point that he wants to talk about. And if the team's playing well, it's our responsibility to analyze why that is and call them out for it. So if he feels like we're slaughtering them, then you know what, the best thing he can do for his club is just to play better, and then we'll talk about how well they're doing.
Yeah, and I guess, and I'm a big fan of Josh as a player, and I've been rooting for him as a coach. I root for all the guys that have been in the league that have turned over to now become coaches, general managers, sporting directors, because they are a part of it. But, it's kind of interesting. Well, listen, we got to go. Eric, as always, thank you so much for coming on tonight, taking up a couple of different topics. We really didn't talk too much about the game, but we are talking about the two markets, and there's a lot of promise in both. Right now, Austin FC is killing it off the field, and let's see if the Dynamo can take advantage and get a result over Austin FC going on the road, because actually Houston's won 3 games on the road. Eric, as always, thank you for coming on the show.
Absolutely, Glenn. Looking forward to the match.
That's Eric Goodman, Austin Chronicle. He does a thing called the Verde Report. He's at Goodman on X. At Goodman on X. That does it tonight for Soccer Matters, ESPN 97.5. Big thank you to Guillermo Lazo Romero, our producer. Hey, we're back on the air 6 o'clock Central Time on Wednesday, so we're going to preview the Dynamo-Austin game. And who knows, maybe we'll get Eric on live from the stadium if I don't make it up there. I will do some more Dash talk because I want to talk more about their win at L.A. ahead of Portland. We are also going to throw a pair of tickets right now. If you hung around, this is your lucky day. Pair of tickets, Inter Miami with Lionel Messi against Tigres. Caller number 5, 713-780-3776. Put that in your pipe and smoke it.